My wife has the laser pointer. And there's a kitty right beneath me, so you might see one darting off here in the distance. Finally sitting down to do a review for Mavi's Shadowbox album. Been a long time since I listened to it. Well, basically a large gap between my listening experience, the reaction, and finally sitting down to do a review. I was waiting. I was kind of putting it off. And I was asking myself after a little while, I was like, why am I putting this off? And I realized, I wanted to come in with a lot of praise for this album because I enjoy this album. I think it's a good album. I definitely think it's worth a listen. I'm glad I sat down with it. But I was also noticing I wasn't like obsessed with it. I didn't fall in love with it. And so I was exploring a bit the idea of the question, why? Why? Because this album does a lot of things that I really like. And as I rolled around with it in time and thought about it, two things kind of stood out. One, it's funny how when sometimes you'll listen to an album, right, you'll be going through and this one song comes on and it's just amazing. Like just your favorite song, the best song, you get totally obsessed with it. You listen to it all year, right? But then the song after that almost seems to suffer from the amazing song success to where you feel like, that song, yeah, it's okay. But really the song itself is good. It's just right next to a really, really, really good song, right? And so I noticed with Shadowbox, as I spent time with it, I've been listening to Chromacopia by Tyler, Freddie Gibbs' new album, You Only Die Once. Bad Cameo came out this year, which I felt like was another great album that kind of slipped under the radar a little bit. But basically all those albums are all essentially being introspective, self-reflecting, think about who they are, what they've done, where they've been, what they're struggling with, all these kinds of things. And it's great because all of those albums do that very differently, very well, in my opinion. All four of those albums I just mentioned, they're doing what they do very well. But I realized too, with just even this year, 2024, there's been so much great music, in my opinion, that's come out. I was thinking the other day, it's like, I don't know how an artist is supposed to even break out anymore. Like, it's this weird duality of literally anybody can find you at any moment because you're just a tap away from a screen. Yet there's so much now. And so I feel like Shadowbox exists in that realm where it's just surrounded by so many other projects that are also great. So it's hard to stand out. Now, in terms of the album itself, one point of, I would say, critique, like I don't want to criticize, right? Especially when it comes to artists and how they express their art, their feelings, their lives, whatever it is, right? Like I don't want to exist in a space where I tell them how they're supposed to do that, because that sounds stupid as fuck, in my opinion. But with Shadowbox specifically, I feel like the album would have been a little bit stronger if the concept of the shadow self and fighting the shadow self, or maybe trying to ignore the shadow self, or that whole theme, if it would have been brought a little bit more to the forefront, if maybe the shadow persona or the shadow self would have been given more of a persona or more of a placement in the album, if the concept of shadow boxing and the shadow stuff, like basically this album made me kind of revisit some old YouTube videos I haven't watched in a while that talk about the shadow self and Carl Jung and all these theories and stuff like that, because it really is a fascinating topic. And I feel like this album, for me personally, it would have jumped up a notch if that were really like fleshed out throughout the album. Because honestly, in my opinion, listening to it, I love a lot of the music on here, and I love how open Mavi's being and how, introspective he's being and just exploring his own flaws and his own shortcomings and his own strengths and all of that stuff without that additional layer of the shadow self and maybe feeling fearful of it. That's kind of hard to say. Or wrestling with it or trying to ignore or whatever. It does fall into a category of it's an album that's introspective without that additional theme on there. Even though, that the cover's got this like inverted photo and in the shadow box implies the idea of boxing the shadow self. So really that would be my one point of critique, maybe criticism, not even really criticism. I feel like I would have enjoyed the album more if it had that pushed a little bit more, because he hints at it, right? Like I took some notes about, Latch has that bit. I woke up and I was Mavi, like he's kind of finally relieved. What was it? The third track. Is it third track or I Did? Is it the end of I Did? Open Waters. Art can't save you. He's talking about it. There's the little interlude thing with Drown in the Snake. We're talking about the demon that grows with the child and all. The end of Testimony. He's going on about it's a blessing. There's these little like tidbits and hints, but I wish it was a little bit more. I did have a good listen. It finally rained in California recently after 4 months of sunshine. And I put the album on when it was raining, and oh my God, it was perfect. It was perfect to listen to during rainy weather. I really, really enjoyed it during just gray clouds and oh God, I loved it. That was amazing. I think also I was just excited that it was raining too. Much like Voodoo's excited about a red dot going up and down the wall. Favorite tracks. What did I put down for favorite track? 20,000 Leagues, I really like. I think my favorite is Latch though. I love the guitar and then that that chord progression of do 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 do. I just love the way Latch sounds. It's a great jam. I put Drunk Prayer as another. I really, really like Drunk Prayer as well. And of course, The Giver. Everyone's really enjoying that one. I like that one too. Yeah. What else did I put for notes? That might be it. Cool album. Glad I listened to it. I do want to check out someday, hopefully somewhat soon, Let the Sun Talk. I know that's another big one by him. It was fun to watch the interview with Mavi and turning the tables and just listen to that. That was really cool. It was fun to see him. I noticed if you go back and watch that interview, like when it first starts, Mavi's legs are doing this, like his knees are kind of bouncing. And then as soon as Kevin starts talking to him about lyrics, they stop. Like he calms down. It's so cool to see. I love that. I love it because, Kevin and Connor, they're both just great people, but also, to see him calm down once he understands that these are people that care about his lyrics and his art and his craft and what he's done, and they're interested in that. Anyway, there you go. Cool album. Glad I listened to it. Hopefully I can check out more Mavi again soon. And yeah, that's it. Take care, y'all. We'll see you soon.